Now it's been about 2,848 days since Tamar McIntyre, aka Tay-K, aka Tay-K47, did the race and ended up getting captured by the U.S. Marshals in New Jersey.
Breaking news to share with you. We just learned 17-year-old Tamar McIntyre has been arrested in New Jersey by the U.S. Marshal Service. He's been being held there pending his extradition back here to Texas. McIntyre, who's from Arlington, is suspected in a capital murder case and had been described as a violent fugitive. He's been the subject of a nationwide manhunt.
Now, Tay-K was a 16-year-old insane Crip, gang-banging rapper, drop out of school, bloodthirsty little boy who comes from the foster care system, an abusive household, and negligent parents. And a lot of people at the time would be saying, man, look at his background. No wonder he was out there in the streets alone. That's why he was doing this stuff. And unfortunately, he just caught a body, but he shouldn't have to pay for the rest of his life with it. Now me, I don't give a damn. Throw him away, lock the key. And I know that's harsh, but some people, in my personal opinion, aren't equipped to be on the street. And I know that Tay-K came from a bad background, but the way that he was moving, he was putting other people's lives in danger. So much, in fact, that he's being held responsible for 2 bodies. Now, the first body would be of one Ethan Walker, 21 years old. So let's talk about the first body. You see, Tay-K, he will be planning a robbery where we have 2 women seduce a guy named Zachary Balate, and hopefully they can go in the house and steal drugs and money. So it was working to a T. The ladies were let in the house, and Tay-K would be let in right after. Him and his team, him and his boys, they go in there. It turns into a botched robbery because there's another guy in there. His name is Ethan Walker. Ethan Walker would try to fight them off and try to stop the robbery, and his life would end up being taken from him. And that would be the first murder that they would put on Tay-K. And Tay-K would seemingly go in the interrogation room and basically admit to the robbery and the murder. Now, the state of Texas would make a grave mistake, and that would be letting Tay-K get out on bond and just be on house arrest. After playing a role in a murder, a home invasion at that, a premeditated home invasion that turned into a murder, they let a 16-year-old boy out. They put him on his house arrest, and eventually Tay-K would grow restless and he would cut off his monitor and do what he later would call the race. Before we get to the second body that Tay-K caught while he would be on the run for 3 months as a wanted fugitive for capital murder, let's talk about the sentencing that he got already. He already was sentenced to 55 years for that home invasion. So he was done. The actual killer got less time than him, and that's because he took a plea. Tay-K decided he wanted to take it to trial, and he blew it. Already being 19 years old, facing 55 years, being sentenced to 55 years. Feels like life may essentially been over. But that wasn't even the worst part.
And his song about running from crime made him known. But teenage rapper Tay-K will not be able to run from a now 55-year prison sentence. Delivered, in fact, by a jury earlier today in Fort Worth. Jason Allen was in the courtroom for the murder trial. He's joining us live right outside the Tim Curry Criminal Justice Center. Our top story at 5. Jason?
Doug, the jury deliberated for a little longer than 3 hours today here before deciding on that 55-year sentence. That song that raised the profile of Tamar Tay-K McIntyre in the end also likely played a role in that prison sentence. Tamar McIntyre ever so slightly rolled his head to the side as a judge announced his 55-year prison sentence for the murder of Ethan Walker. The decision came 2 years after Tay-K rapped in his song The Race that there was a case he couldn't beat.
I think it was part of a career move that went wrong.
The song was certified platinum for the 19-year-old, but prosecutors argued it was also an example of the teen's character. They urged the jury to consider it when deciding on a sentence for the 2016 home invasion and robbery where Walker was killed. And afterward, Walker's parents said every lyric
had their son's blood on it.
Every time we look up, it seems like we're seeing news about the song, seeing praise about the song, and seeing you literally dancing on Ethan's grave. But you've gotten enough attention.
McIntyre's defense team, which helped him avoid a life sentence, argued that though the song was offensive, it was art. They were pushing for nothing longer than a 20-year deal other teens received in the case, but the jury saw it differently.
You're still here. You're still here. My son is gone. He's a box of ashes sitting in my living room. He's gone.
McIntyre will be eligible for parole, but he'll have to serve half of that sentence, 27.5 years, before he gets that opportunity. We're live tonight in Fort Worth. Jason Allen, CBS 11 News.
All I want to say is rest in peace to Ethan Walker, man. Gone. Certainly not forgotten by your family, your loved ones. They made sure that they went to court, and they did as best as they could to try to get Tay-K a maximum sentence. 55 was very generous, being that he didn't pull that trigger and he was 16 years old at the time. But this case, we gonna put that to the side, because we still gotta explain Tay-K's journey on these 3 months. Now, after Tay-K participated in this and cut his ankle monitor off and got the hell on, he would find himself in San Antonio, Texas. Tay-K would even announce to the world that he was ready to crash out. He said, fuck this house arrest shit, fuck 12, they gonna have to catch me on hood. Now let's get to April 23rd, 2017. Tay-K and his friends on the run reach out to Mark Salvador, a local photographer in San Antonio, Texas, who comes from humble beginnings. And allegedly he saved up his money to get his photography equipment and make something of himself. He had dreams and aspirations of being a videographer and making himself out of these humble beginnings and taking care of his family. He built it brick by brick, and he finally felt like he had the right move. Now, I don't know if he knew that Tay-K was on the run, but he figured, hey, I can make a little bit of money, I can make a controversial video, I can get my name out there, and I'm gonna do what I gotta do to provide for my family. But little did he know is that he was too being set up to be robbed by Tay-K and friends. They pull up in a black truck to pick up Mark. Everything seems okay. They're heading towards the mall, when all of a sudden they decide to start assaulting Mark to try to take his bag off of him. Now, I think that they needed money. They're young kids on the run. They figured maybe we can get his equipment, maybe he'll have a little bread on him, and we could try to make a living off that. Well, what happens is they beat on Mark. They kick him out the car. Mark, being that he worked for all of his possessions, everything, he just could not let that go. He decides to jump on top of the hood of the car at the light, and when the light turns green, they pull off with him on top of the car. They pull over at a Chick-fil-A. They're telling him to get off the car. He doesn't want to do it because he literally saved up and spent his last on his ticket that he felt was out of these humble beginnings. And Tay-K gets out the car and shoots Mark off the hood of the car. And they speed off and they go to a Mexican restaurant where they realize that they didn't really get anything off of that, but they do congratulate Tay-K for catching his first body. After that, Tay-K would make his way up to New Jersey on the run, where he would spend the rest of those couple of months hiding out from the police. But the same day that he put out his infamous video for the race where he's smoking a blunt next to his own wanted poster, the police came and got him. And it was over for Tay-K. The race was over. The race was finished. They indicted him. They extradited him back to Texas. And I already showed y'all his fate for the first body. He caught 55 years. And now he will be facing another capital murder charge for the murder of Mark at the Chick-fil-A in San Antonio, Texas, a senseless murder. Now, the trial would start off, and one of the most telling witnesses would be Tay-K's girlfriend. They always say, when there's somebody that can point out that they saw you do it, you're usually cooked, especially a woman. Why would y'all ever do a crime in front of a woman knowing that she's the weak link is beyond me, but she would tell it all.
On the way to North Star Mall, what happened?
We hit the light at McCullough, and Tamor took out his gun and pointed it at Mark and asked for his bag. Mark refused to give him the bag, so they all started hitting him, and Tamor was hitting him with the gun, and the whole time I didn't look back, but when I did, I saw his face, and I started telling them to let him go, and I just kept screaming, let him go. And Jalen opened the door and started pushing him out, and he was fighting to get back in the car, and then I didn't let him in the car, so he went around the car and he jumped on the hood, and the light turned green.
Okay. I'm gonna stop you right there, okay? So, when you all were at the light on McCullough, you said Tamor produced his gun, correct?
Yes.
And who did Tamor have the gun pointed at?
Mark.
And what was Tamor saying when he had the gun pointed at Mark?
To give him his bag.
So when you were in the Chick-fil-A parking lot and Mark was on the hood of the vehicle, who was sitting in the front passenger seat of the vehicle at that time?
Tamor.
What did you observe Tamor McIntyre do from the front passenger seat?
He shot him.
Strike one, my boy. Your girlfriend, a star witness. You over with.
How did Tamor, did he exit the vehicle or did he roll the window down? How did he shoot?
Yeah, he opened the door and leaned out on one leg.
Okay, do you know if there was anything inside of the wallet?
He had got upset because there was only $10.
That might be strike two, my boy. Because no jury is gonna look at y'all and be like, y'all did all this for $10 and still have the compassion to let you guys out after the witness testimony said that. Y'all are young and dumb.
When you say he got upset, who are you referring to?
Jalen.
Can you please describe to the jury the demeanor of Tamor McIntyre and Jalen Bell at the Mexican restaurant once you all got off the vehicle?
They were kind of going back and forth, and then Jalen applauded him and gave him a high five, and they high-fived each other, and Jalen said he caught your first body.
Now for y'all who still think that Tay-K was too young, he came from a hard background, he didn't understand what he was doing, do you still feel sorry for him? They killed that man and went to go eat a burrito, an enchilada with a little queso on the side with some chips, a little salsa, with the $10 that they probably stole from him. We know that Mexican food cheap. That's what they went to go do. On top of that, after they went and did that, they were high-fiving each other like this was Grand Theft Auto. Congratulations, bro. You just caught your first murder. You telling me these dudes wasn't bloodthirsty? Anybody who can kill somebody after already being on house arrest for killing somebody else? You mean to tell me that y'all think that this is the type of person that should have had a second chance at life?
His punishments were too big for Like the thing, like if we got bad grades, then we would be punished. Like he would. It started off by maybe the whoopings got worse and worser, and then now it's not a belt. Now it's a 2x4, and we get a certain number of hits, and we get hit with it. And we have to lay there, and we can't get up. And it was times when Tamar was younger than me, so Tamar was younger than me, and he would cry. And just maybe they would think he was over dramatic, so they would tie him down to an ironing board, strap him down, like stuff like that.
And you said that these were examples of over-disciplining you both for things in the house?
Maybe bad grades, maybe like, yeah, just bad grades and stuff like that. We weren't bad kids to be doing going and doing anything. We didn't have any business. We were too young, and we moved around a lot to know what's going on in our outside world. We were just learning. So it would be stuff like bad grades and stuff like.
Were there ever any signs that you were being hurt this way? Or things that other people would notice?
Yes.
Give me some examples.
Bruises, busted lips, noses. People have witnessed before.
Did any of these things ever come to the attention of your teachers or other adults outside your house?
Tamar's teacher noticed.
Okay. What happened when she noticed?
I wasn't there the exact moment. A certain teacher took maybe noticed Tamar, and
well, if you're just joining us now, we do know that the jury in the Tamar McIntyre case has reached a verdict. Of course, we told you earlier that it was a not guilty verdict as far as the capital murder goes, but it was a guilty verdict for the murder.
And so our Erica Hernandez covering this fully, this trial from beginning to end. Erica, you were there. Tell us first, though, before you detail what it was like in that courtroom. A lot of people don't know the differences between capital murder and murder. They're two different charges.
Yeah, that's correct, Courtney. That capital murder charge would have been an automatic life sentence. But now that it's guilty on murder, now things change up. So that range of punishment changes now from 5 to 99 years of life in prison. But there is a possibility of parole. So there's a lot that the jury can consider.
Mr. McIntyre, I want you to know that I listened to all of the evidence in punishment and thought about whether or not your sentence should be stacked. I don't know where your mom is, don't know where your father is. I know that you had a rough childhood. And I do know that these offenses occurred when you were very young. And I understand the state of the law, what people consider an adult. I listened to the testimony of the expert that was brought by defense counsel. You've already been sentenced to murder in the other county, and then you have a murder here. And the sentence for 55 years, that's a stiff sentence. This 80-year sentence is a stiff sentence. And these are cases where you have to serve half your time, and that's day for day time, and I recognize that. Hopefully you will grow, but based upon his age, based upon the number of years that he has received out of Tarrant County and the number of years that he's received here, based upon his history and the lack of any type of good parenting. From what I can tell, his mother wasn't a good parent to him. His father wasn't a good parent to him. Child Protective Services was not good. And if you believe the testimony, I don't know why Child Protective Services would place children back with a father who put the children's mother in the hospital. Is there something else that needs to be done with our society? Yes. Is more money need for Child Protective Services and their workers? Yes. And I do realize that while this is a lot of time, and I tell people all the time, anytime that you do in custody is a lot of time. But by that same token, you're still alive. And what the state has said is true. You're still alive. You can still better yourself. If you end up in prison for the rest of your life, you're still alive. You still can improve yourself. Your family can still visit you. But the complainant in this case is deceased. And you need to internalize that the complainant in this case is deceased and that his family is never going to see him again. So you're going to have to make changes. And you're going to have to remove people from your life who are not of benefit in the means of making you a better person. And I do understand that sometimes people will go to prison, they join gangs because you need protection, because you're there by yourself, you're young, but you're going to have to make better choices. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to sentence him to 80 years in the prison, give him credit for any time served. There is a $0 fine. This will run concurrent with 1511547D.
Now I'm gonna be honest with y'all, man. I don't enjoy watching somebody get a life sentence. I'm not sitting here walking around like, yes, he got a life sentence, another young black brother. I don't. But that doesn't mean that I don't think that Tay-K got what was coming for him, that he didn't get what he deserved. Tay-K was bloodthirsty, probably because of the trauma that he experienced. I can acknowledge that. But that doesn't give him the right to play God with people. That doesn't give him the right to kill anybody. Because at the end of the day, the other family of the victim, they're not going to be able to see their sons. And you have to be punished for that. Tay-K got off easy if you ask me. Because 80 sounds like a long time, and it is. She ran it concurrent with the 55-year sentence, meaning 80 is the max. Cut that in half. She said he's eligible for parole after cutting that in half. He'd already served about 7 to 8 years, so he's looking at 32 to 33 years before he's eligible for parole. Now, I don't know if there's going to be any type of appeals, but I do know over time there may be some laws that are put in place that could even shorten that some more, especially him being a minor when he did this. But Tay-K put this on himself. He thumbed his nose up to the police. He cut off an ankle monitor. He killed people. He shot videos. He didn't show any kind of remorse. What do y'all expect? You see, Tay-K did this for clout because he wanted a rap career. And he may have just been trying to survive. But he thought that this was going to put him on. And it did get him on. It got him the recognition he deserved. And the same day he dropped the most famous and the most receptive and well-performing music video that he had, he got arrested. He didn't even get to see the success that came with the song because he was in prison. Now he's in prison, locked up, hairline receding at 24 years old, cuts on the back of his neck, which I could only think was probably some type of altercation in that prison. He's squinting, looking all the time, looking confused, not educated. Is that the life you want to live? I seen him put up a tweet wishing that he could get a second chance and just get to live an adult life, which he won't experience, at least for the next 32 to 33 years. So while everybody that cheered him on was saying, yeah, go do the race, what he don't realize is these people done grown up now. And today they're all calling him stupid. Yeah, these people went on to go to college, have kids. And the same thing they cheered you on for is the same thing that they called you stupid about. Oh man, and it's crazy because he was involved in another murder before that. He just didn't get charged, but he was there when his friend caught a body. after doing a performance somewhere in Texas. And they saying that Tay-K may have even sexually assaulted another girl. So Tay-K was on a streak. I had a homie who had a little brother like that. Same exact thing, actually. Bloodthirsty, doing armed robberies. Caught a charge being associated with a murder. Then later on, they saying he did the murder. He's in jail for life. So I'm saying all that to say is, man, if y'all ain't gonna think of the consequences of your actions and y'all gonna take a life, just know there are consequences that come with that. Y'all think crashing out is cool and getting clout is cool until it ain't no more. Until you're locked in between those walls. So y'all take heed in what you're doing, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think, man. Like, share, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell, and we out, baby. Boom!
Big Just LaFlare.
It's him.